Welcome to a session on the major movements in American literature. So, American literature is something that has gone through different movements, and each of these movements has impacted the literature and has affected the literature of the time. So, there are different periods through which you can see a change happening in American literature, and the major movements that you can recognize in American literature. The first and foremost, the colonial period, which ranges from 1620 to 1776. Then you have the Romantic period, ranging from 1776 to 1860. Then you have the Realist period, starting from 1816 to 1914. And then you have the Modernist period from 1914 to 1945. And later you end, another major movement and which continues till the present time. That is the postmodern period, starting from the 1945, which continues to the present. So the colonial period, which ranges from 1620 to 1776. So what happened during this period? This period saw, the development of early literature, including the works of William Bradford. So William Bradford is one of those very prominent writers who was known during this colonial period. And then there were other writers like Cotton Mather and Benjamin Franklin. So, one major feature about this literature or the literary works that came out during this period is that it was largely religious and didactic in nature and was intended to educate and instruct the readers on moral and spiritual matters. So, the main intent of this particular the literature that came out during this period, it was to educate or instruct the readers regarding moral and religious issues or matters. Coming to the next period, which is the Romantic period, starting from 1776 to 1860. Now, this period was marked by a focus on emotion, imagination, and a natural world. So, these were the few things which most of the writers concentrated on during this period. It was emotion, imagination, and the natural world. So, Romantic writers, they celebrated individualism and the power of human spirit, and their work which often featured the elements of supernatural and the mystical. So that is all about Romantic. It is quite similar to the Romantic period or Romantic movement you see in Britain. It's quite similar with the themes and other things. And the major figures of Romantic period would be Edgar Allan Poe, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, whose concepts, reincarnate to say in many of the works that came later. Coming to the third period, which is the realist period, starting which from the 1860 to the 1914, and this period show a shift, a major shift towards realistic and down towards themes and characters. And the realist writers sought to portray the world as it really was, and their works often featured ordinary people and their everyday struggles. So that you can see in works of Mark Twain, Henry James, and Edith Wharton. Coming to the next period, which is the modernist period, ranging from 1914 to 1945. This period was marked by a sense of disillusionment and skepticism following the World War I. The modernist writers, they rejected the traditional forms and themes and sought to experiment with new styles and techniques. And their works often explored the themes of identity, alienation, and the search for meaning. And the major figures of this period include T.S. Eliot, Ernest Hemingway, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. So these are the few important writers in the modernist period. Coming to the last phase of one of the last named phases or periods in American literature, it would be the postmodern period. And this period is characterized by a rejection of traditional narratives or the conventional forms and methods, a focus on multiple perspectives and deconstruction of meaning. Then you have postmodern writers who often experiment with form and challenge the notion of objective truth. These were the few matters being discussed in postmodern period, and the major figures of this period include John Barth, Thomas Pynchon, and Don DeLillo. Okay, so these are the few periods that you have in American literature. Thank you.